Hey guys, how's it going? So today I'm going to help you guys understand recursion. So when I first started out programming, recursion was pretty confusing at first. And even once I really figured out, the code, it took me a while to really kind of understand what was going on behind the scenes. So today I'm going to go over, so this is your basic factorial method. So you'll see this a lot when you're being introduced to recursion. It's the popular one that they use. So I'm going to go over that and then a nice example here to kind of really help you understand recursion and what's going on. Okay, so recursion. Well, first let me explain factorial. So most of you probably know this, but just to double check. So factorial is basically, let's say 5 factorial. What that means is basically 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So you're going to multiply n minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3, and so on, blah, blah, blah. So that is recursion, I'm sure, or factorial. I'm sure you guys know that. So anyways, in a method, so basically recursion, what you're doing is, you can see this method is called factorial, okay? So in this method, if you go down here, you can see that I'm actually calling the method that I'm creating inside the method. So that's basically recursion is calling the method inside the method. Now, why are we doing that? Well, that's a recursive method call. So basically what we're doing is, in recursion, you're always going to need a base case. So right here, this is our base case. So base case says, hey, if this is true, we're done. Stop recursively calling the method, okay? That means we found one answer. We found the answer that we needed. Now, let's figure this out. Now, if the base case isn't true, it's just going to keep calling the recursive method here, but passing in a new value. So, I mean, every time you call the recursive method, or you're calling the method again, you are going to pass in a new value. Otherwise, you're not really doing anything. That's not the point of recursion. You need to pass in something new every time. Okay. So, like I said, always going to need a base case. So when n equals 0, we're going to return 1. Else we're going to recursively call factorial again, except for we're going to pass in n minus 1. And n is going to change every time this is called right here, okay? Now what we're doing is basically we're building up a little stack in memory. Each time we call it, we're saying, hey, hold on, we don't have a way to answer this yet. Same thing, keep calling the method. Hey, we don't have a way to answer this yet until we get to the base case, so just put that on hold. Same thing, hey, we don't have an answer yet to answer the question or return an answer, so let's put that on hold. When you get to the base case, okay, now I have something to answer the previous question or the previous call, so we're good. Go back, we're good. We can use that to answer that one and return that one. So yeah, basically what it's doing is it's putting it on hold until we hit that base case. Now I'm going to demonstrate an example here using these little guys down here. So I don't know if you guys have ever played the game Make a Sentence, okay? But Make a Sentence is basically, let's say you have a group of people, and in this case they're in a line. And each person is going to say one word, and then the next person has to say that word and then add to it. And it's kind of like a memory game, and you got to keep building off of what people said. So let's say if this person says I, this person says, okay, I'm going to add the word love, so they have to say I love. And then the third person is going to say programming, but he has to say I love programming, so he added the word programming. So let's say in this case, this guy is the guy who starts the game. He's going to be in charge saying, hey, let's start the game. This guy over here at this end is going to be basically our number one guy or our base case. What he's going to do is he's going to be in charge of saying the first word, okay? So we're going to start this game. But this guy at the end, none of these guys can hear him say, let's start the game. So he has to basically pass off to each guy, say, hey, let's start the game, okay? And I'll explain that a little bit better. So basically this guy, he can't tell him just, hey, what's your first word? He's got to tell this guy. So he's going to call, the guy who starts it is going to call this guy and say, hey, let's start the game. None of these guys can actually start the game until they get the first word, the base case. So they're going to just wait. They got to be on hold. So same thing. This guy is going to make a call and he's going to say, hey, let's start this game. This guy's going to be like, hey, we can't start it yet because I don't have the first word. I don't have the base case. So same thing. This guy's going to call this guy and say, hey, we're ready to start the game. This guy's going to say, hey, I don't have the first word. I do not have the base case, so I cannot make a sentence. This guy's going to make a call to the first guy, and he's going to say, hey, let's start the game. This guy is the guy who's supposed to give the first word. He is the base case. So he's like, okay, my word is I. So, okay, we finally got the base case, and now we can return that back to this guy and say, hey, my first word is I. He's going to say, my word that I'm going to add to your word is love. So he's going to say, I'm just going to use a heart. He's going to say, I love. Now that this guy has his part of his sentence, he can return that to this guy and say, hey, this is what I added. This is the sentence, I love. He's going to say, okay, now I can finally, I've been waiting, I can add programming. I love programming. This guy has the whole sentence. Now he can finally pass that off to the next guy and tell him what the sentence currently is. And he's going to say, I love programming and. So I'm not going to write that out, but you guys kind of get the hint. And then this guy has that, and now he can finally pass off to the last guy. Say, hey, I love programming and Mountain Dew. So this guy has the whole sentence. He added the last word because he had the base case and everything built off of that. Now the sentence is complete. So that's recursion, guys. Hopefully you guys understand that. Took me a while to understand it, but basically you're going to keep calling the method, but passing it in a new value. Like these guys, they added something to it and then passed it. So you're going to keep calling it at first until they get to the base case, because they can't do anything until they get to that base case. They need some kind of answer to build off of. Okay, so that is recursion. Hey, let's keep calling this until I get to the base case. That way I can get that base answer and I can build off of it. And then they'll go back in memory. After they were on hold, they'll say, hey, we got it. Now we can finish the rest of them and return the answer. All right, guys, so that is recursion. Hopefully that helps quite a bit. That helped me understand it when I was first learning. If you guys have any questions or comments, throw them below. Like, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys.